I want to ask this final question before we get into the meat and potatoes. I've looked at this article here. If you can see here, it says the building boom is prolonging market pain.
Okay.
Which, again, pushing on what I've just shared with you here, how the building boom has pushed unemployment around to this lowest level in more than 50 years, which is perplexing investors who want to see the Fed switch course on interest rates. Obviously, the interest rate's still going up and everything, but construction spending and employment have risen to new records this year, as you have just shared with us, right? And it's basically stating how the construction market is on the rise right now.
Because they can't keep up with demand.
But you just referenced to the pandemic, how there were supply chain issues. We all know about that. We've all experienced it and everything like that. Interest rates going on, so it costs more to build, right? Because supplies cost more and everything like that. And the fact that, again, a lot of jobs are switching to 4-day work week, cutting back hours. People are losing a job. So there's even uncertainty. And again, like final point, you've mentioned those that have that prime rate, they're staying put. No reason to, go into something higher. Yep. So, tell me, is this something that the government, because I'm asking the same question in many different ways, and I want to get this answer from you. Is this something the government is intentionally doing to sort of manipulate the data?
Rates go?
As far as the information going out, because we're also in a world where information, because there's misinformation too. Yeah. So if everything you're sharing with me is positive, but everything they're saying is negative, is it really the institutions that's spreading this fear porn intentionally?
There's two schools there, right? There's two camps.
Okay.
There's the overall economy, okay,
right,
which has its uncertain points, right, as far as layoffs and recession and stuff like that, because there's a big difference in interest rates and mortgage rates. Okay?
Interest rates and mortgage rates.
Big difference, right? Interest rates, like the Fed fund rate,
right?
It affects credit cards, car loans, equity lines of credit, things of that nature.
Okay.
Right? But it doesn't affect the 30-year fixed mortgage.
Oh, so you got to separate them.
You have to separate them.
A lot of people combine them.
Yeah.
Right, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And so people think, the Feds are going to go up on rates, so mortgage rates. No, it's not, right? If you look at history, again, just look at a chart.
Okay.
Pull up a chart that has the 10-year Treasury, that has inflation, and that has 30-year fixed.
Right.
And look at how correlated they are, right? And look at the Fed fund rate, and look how uncorrelated it is to the other three. And so the reason why the 30-year fixed is not correlated to the Fed fund and more correlated to the 10-year Treasury, which is tied more to inflation, because investors want to make money on their dollar, even if the dollar is increasing or decreasing in value.
Right,
okay?
That's why they're called an investor.
They want to put their money in. Right. They don't want to make less than what the dollar is appreciating itself if they just left it in the bank.
Makes sense,
okay?
Right.
So same thing with 30-year fixed. If I can put my money in a 10-year Treasury and get 3%, or buy a mortgage on the second market and get 3%, that's riskier than a Treasury or a bond, where am I going to put my money? I'm going to put my money in the bond or the Treasury, right?
Right.
Where there's no risk, but I'm getting the same return. So that's why the 30-year fix is more investor-driven, and there has to be a spread between the 10-year Treasury and 30-year fixed, so that the investors get an extra return on their money for risking their money a little bit over here, right?
Okay.
And so that's why it's tied more to the 10-year Treasury than the Fed.
The inflation is tied to the mortgage rates. I see what you're saying.
And so it's kind of tied a little bit but it has an adverse effect, because when the Fed raises rates, their objective is to
bring down inflation,
create deflation.
Right.
Right. Well, when deflation comes down, mortgage rates follow. And so in the beginning, when the Feds begin raising rates,
right,
mortgage rates go up in the beginning.
But it stabilizes.
It stabilizes, and then as they're here, and then the Fed rates go up. Well, the mortgage rates go up too, because now we realize inflation is higher. And if the Fed rate goes up, then that affects the 10-year Treasury. So in the beginning, during one of these periods where they start raising, it goes up. But then once it levels out, then the Feds continue raising rates. Well, that raising rates makes inflation come down, and the 10-year and the 30-year fix starts to dwindle
Started
down.
to come down with
started
it.
to dwindle down with inflation. So every inflation and CPI report that we've had hasn't been phenomenal, but it's been better. Each time has been a little better, a little better, a little better. And May 10th, in 10 days, we're going to have another one that's going to be the big one. That's going to show a great year-over-year improvement in terms of inflation, and that's going to create downward pressure on the 30-year fix. So right now we're sitting on 6.3, something like that, as far as the 30-year fixed average for the country right this second. Okay. Well, we have more demand. In my mind, we have more pent-up demand for a lot of reasons. Number one, just the
first-time home buyers.
The natural first-time home buyer group.
Right.
Bigger than we've ever seen ever. We don't even know. We
that's still prime market,
haven't
right?
even. We've seen nothing yet when it comes to this. Then you've got all these people that have been sitting in these same houses because they have low interest rate and forced to stay in there
and just building equity.
And they're
building equity.
They're building equity, but the thing is they're just dying to move because they've been in the same house. They've been forced to stay in the same house,
and they're still forced in a way because the rates are so low.
That's what I'm saying.
Right, I see what you're saying.
But the more time goes by, like these people do want to move. But they don't want to pay 6.3% interest, right? So as inflation continues to dwindle down, 30-year fix is going to follow.
More of the people go in because now say, "Hey, I'll sell at that price at then," right?
Yeah, I'll sell. I'll give up my my 4.1 and get into a 5.5%. I can deal with this mortgage payment at 5.5%. I'm not going to do it at 6.3,
right?
But at 5.5,
I
can deal with it. So what's going to happen is a perfect storm. Like we think we have demand now because we're getting multiple offers, right? Like there's more properties pending than are active right now, right? In a lot of markets. There's right here in Fort Lauderdale, there's 3 months worth of inventory right now, which means that the amount of properties that are pending that are going to close and how many closings have happened over the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
Right.
There's only enough inventory to cover 3 more months on the market right this second.
After that's it, right?
Right. Well, and what happens is new listings come on the market to kind of keep it going. But
right. Okay.
New listings are lower than like 2021 and 22. Like here's 21 and 22 for new listings coming on the market. Here's 23. Like new listings because nobody's selling.
Somebody's selling.
Nobody's selling.
Interest rate's so high.
And so this is where the perfect storm is coming when all this pent up demand and no inventory at all enters into a period when inflation starts to cool and gets down into the 5s. It's going to be like a tsunami of people coming out of the woodwork to buy houses.
This is when real estate agents eat, huh?
So my prediction is that we see another double-digit year in prices this year.
Year-over-year growth.
Year-over-year. From January 1 to January 1, I predict another double-digit year because there's no inventory, and we're going to have the largest amount of demand we've ever seen with decreasing mortgage rates. Now,